Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Syrian, Iraq, Turkey, and Israel, overview, of what the hell is happening over in this region currently. And we're not going to go into the individual incidents, but I just want to cover, what is the forces or the sites, and then some macro politics or macro geopolitics that's happening over in this region here. And so that when you guys come and watch the Syrian sit rep or the Iraqi sit rep or Kurdistan sit rep or whatever, uh, any news that come from this region, you can kind of have a better idea what the hell is happening. So let's start off with the simpler one. In Israel. So Israel currently they are still in control of the entirety of Palestine. So we have Gaza and West Bank. So West Bank is the so-called the is that basically there's actually two Palestine. There's actually two different Palestines. So West Bank is the happier side. Not very happy, but happier. Where most of the able Palestinians are mostly not here. They are actually all overseas working, and they are all doing actually pretty well. Many of them actually have dual citizenships, and they are both Americans and Palestine at the same time. And they send back money to Palestine and build very beautiful houses. I can tell you, you'll be surprised by some of the houses that is being built over here in the West Bank. Is no joke. So, but of course, not everybody have the good opportunity to fly away. And so there is some things happening. Palestine, the more normal Palestine is actually in the West Bank. Then we have the more crazier Palestine, which is the Gaza Strip. So this is Gaza Strip, and this is where most of the problems for Israel are. Where this is where Hamas operates, and when we always hear about the rocket attacks and then the Israel send their fighters and bomb something, is usually Gaza. Usually Gaza. The one on the West Bank is not so violent. The Gaza one is actually the main problem because they are the one that are able to get weapons through Egypt, through underground tunnels, and in these underground tunnels, many of them are being discovered and blown up by the Israelis. So, but this thing continues. The problem continues, and the Israel don't really have very good solutions to come to the Palestinian issue. Despite they say that Palestine will have their own state, do two-state solutions, but I don't think they're sincere about it. And in the northern part of Israel, we have the Golan Heights. So the Golan Heights, this entire patch here is actually the Golan Heights. It's actually controlled by the Israelis, and the Israeli military. This is the demilitarized zone. So even though I colored in this way, they've actually by right there should be no Israeli military here. Despite I do remember seeing some military bases from memory, but generally they are all behind the line. And you see there's Girl Goddard here. So anyway, the the fact is that Golan Heights has been conquered by the Israelis from the Syrians, because the Syrians invaded and they lost the war. So no, too bad. So then come to Lebanon. I don't have much to talk about Lebanon. I haven't really mapped anything here yet. Basically they have no true sovereignty of their own in a way. Israeli fighters can just fly in and out, and it's just a mess over here. And moving into Israel, so the long gone were the days where we have black patches all across the desert, where the ISIS forces captured a lot of grounds and stuff, and it's a lot more simpler now, but it's still quite rather complicated. So let's start off with so you can see some of these icons. These are all Russian bases, and so the Russian bases are generally all around here, and there's one outpost or small little base around here up north here. There's one here. Generally most of it is around on the western side, and on the sea we have the ports, the air bases, and there's a few air bases. As you can see, the resolution is a bit shitty, but you get a point. And then on the this side is the famous US El Taf base. This is actually an American military base. And they actually have another base here, which is newer, which is called the Al Zuf base. The resolution is all shit because it's American bases, and there's a possible outpost around here. As you can see, this is just an outpost. You can see the all-round defense. So they are here to control this entrance, the Al Walid border crossing into Iraq, and also can conveniently enter Jordan if they want to, but I don't think they do so. And they basically control this area along with the army of Free Syria, basically the Magawal al-Tora or Maharwil al-Tora. My Arab is shit. I can't speak Arab. So yeah. So this is actually a remnant of the Free Syrian army, which they bricked up. So there's a big force. In other maps, some of them they map it pretty big across the entire desert, but this is the mapping basically just shows their operational area. They don't really exist there. They all operate mainly around from the military base area. So this is exactly where they control. Of course, they can actually travel out to the small towns around or villages, or if they are even anything, sometimes I don't even know what is it. It's basically a wasteland, mostly, unless you go further up north here, then you can have some oil facilities and stuff. So that's the American main places. Then they also have a lot of bases all across on the Kurdistan or the Kurd side, or the YPG side, or the SDF side. I'll talk about it later. And over at the northwestern side, we have this patch here. So this patch is actually the Syrian Salvation Government, or they short form it as HTS, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. So basically this is their own thingy, and include it within this territory. There are certain parts is actually controlled by the Syrian National Army, which is actually previously also known as the Free Syrian Army. The Syrian National Army for this side is actually backed by the Turkish. The Turkey is actually their backers. So they are in the different color, the Turkey backing, and you can see that they are holding most of the front lines, and these are a bit more formidable because they are backed by the Turkish. And there is also a lot of terrorist groups within here, or former Al-Qaeda group, or Al-Nusra, or all sort of stupid names that they keep changing every year. So they are all around here in this area here. Mostly, half of it is just mountainous area, and you can see that these two red patches here. So the red one, this is actually the Turkish corridor. So the Turkish and the Russians actually made a deal to mutually patrol a corridor, some sort of like a demilitarized zone. So the idea is that to prevent the Syrian army from incurring northward, so the Turkish, or maybe the rebel forces, demanded this, and the Turkish worked out the deal with the Russians, and they actually patrols along this highway, this M4 highway. As you can see, this M4 highway stretches across. So they patrol along this highway, and the highway and the range, the distance from the highway is actually around 6 kilometers. So that is the deal. So the Russians take 6 kilometers south of the highway, and the Turkish take 6 kilometers north of the highway. So this is how this thing works out. And so they patrol the Russians, from my understanding, they patrol using helicopters. Sometimes they can also patrol through on the roads, but you can see that the terrain is just full of cities and farmlands, so it makes more sense to just patrol with aircraft. So and then so this is the typical pink color we use for the Ukraine war map, so you should be you can recognize it. The very red color is the Turkish one. So then we have the white color one. The white color one is exclusively the Syrian army. The the Syrian government, the official Syrian government. So the white areas are exclusively controlled by the Syrian government, and for those that are not mapped, anywhere. So there's this river here, the not what is this river called? The Euphrates or Euphrates Euphrates. So the Euphrates River, anywhere on the western side of this river, this entire area is all by right under the government control. So there are only certain parts that are not under government control, which is mapped by this area here, which is exclusively under the SDF. So yellow color is actually representing the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is actually most famous for being the Kurds, the YPG, and also the American backed forces. So these are these are yellow, and then you can see the light yellow ones. The light yellow ones is very interesting. The light yellow ones are actually a combined force between the SDF, which is a Syrian Democratic Force, the US backed one, and the one that is containing the Kurdish forces, combining with the Syrian army. So they actually mutual patrol and mutual operates within this region to guard the front line against the red patches. So these red patches is actually Turkish forces. So the Turkish actually launched 3 separate operations. So we have the Olive Branch. So this area here is the Olive Branch forces, the Olive Branch region. And the forces here is not just Turkish forces, but also the Syrian National Army forces. So basically the Syrian rebels. And over here, this part is actually the Euphrates Shield force. And against there are also the Syrian National Army operating within this area here. And this is also the hottest front line, because the Turkish government don't really like the Kurds to be around this region here. So which is why there are some fighting and bombardments that are happening nowadays. So within this region, and things are getting pretty bad and out of hand. At Aleppo itself, there are certain enclave which is a Kurdish majority. So the YPG also take some kind of like a sovereignty of sorts in this region here at Aleppo. So we have this area here which is under the Syrian army. I call it the Aleppo East Force. This is the Aleppo West Force. I call this the Aleppo Force, basically the SDF Syrian Army Aleppo Force. And then there's this group here. This grouping here is the Manbij Force. I call it the Manbij Force. Probably anyway, all these namings is by me. I don't think you'll find it elsewhere. They will probably name it something else. So no. So this entire region here, I'm including let's see. This entire area here is claimed by the Syrian Democratic Forces, and similarly for the rest of this area on the eastern side of the Euphrates River. So the difference between this uncolored side and the colored side is that this dark yellow side is exclusively controlled by SDF, and basically the Rojava government. So basically they are the Autonomous Administration of Northeast Syria, or the AANES. Sometimes I mispronounce it as ANES, but basically this is Rojava, and they are they actually have so-called claims or control over the entire area up to this area here, up to this front line here. So I didn't map it all in because it's very confusing, but they have a deal with the Syrian government. So the SDF and the Syrian government is not fighting each other. So in order to maintain peace and try to find a political solution, this entire area that is not marked by entirely dark yellow is actually open to the Ukrainian government. So the Ukrainian government forces can actually go through here, and then they can actually do their civilian stuff, their governmental stuff throughout this area here. They are currently still in negotiation, trying to find a political settlement, how to they get merged back together as one country. It looks like the YPG don't intend to go independent. I mean, at least the Rojava don't intend to go independence. I think they realize the geopolitical situation don't allows them to do that, and they realize that by cooperating with the Syrian government, they can avoid getting attacked by the Turkish forces. But the Turks' problem is not with Rojava. The Turks' problem is with the Kurds, and which is why we have the operations that's happening nowadays. And the border regions are mostly, like, it's mostly controlled by the Syrian government, because the Turkish don't really like the SDF. But there are certain areas that are still SDF controlled, or at least a combined force between the SDF and the Syrian army. And this region here, this red patch, is the Peace Spring forces. So the Turkish launched the Peace Spring operation, I think 2 years ago, and they captured this entire area. And their demands is actually they wanted a corridor, or rather a safe zone. What was the safe zone? Let me see. They wanted a 30 kilometers safe zone. So the 30 kilometers safe zone, if you can see, if I measure, it's around there. You see, it's around there. So around 30 kilometers. The problem is that the Kurdish forces or the SDF forces has been going closer and closer, and the Turkish are not really happy about it. And you can see there's some fighting. So this area here is exclusively the SDF force, and then in this area here, this entire area here is exclusively the government force controlled. The reason is because there is a major military base here. You can see this is a major Syrian military base, and this military base is very formidable because right from the outset, right from the beginning of the Syrian crisis, or the Syrian civil war, this area has never fell. This region here had always been under the Syrian government control. The SDF has never been able to come in. The ISIS forces has never been able to come in. So they have always in control of this entire region here. So it's very interesting. So now we go to the border again. You can see that the Syrian forces have the total control over the border region, and then in other areas, for example, in this area, this city is called Kamishli city. This is joint controlled by the Kurdish forces and the not the Kurdish forces, but the Syrian Democratic Forces, as well as the Syrian government forces. And this area here is actually joint controlled, but lately the US forces have started to have joint patrol with the SDF over in around this border region here. The purpose of the joint patrol by the US is actually to prevent Turkish strike on these patrols. So the Turkish would not attack the Americans. So this is how they actually do it, to prevent the attack. And otherwise, we come to the big patch of yellow. This big patch of yellow, this is exclusively the Rojava government, but within it there is a lot of American infrastructure. For example, this oil field here, the Tanak oil field, as well as the Al Omar oil field, these two are under the American control. Similarly, there is also other oil facilities all around here, which are most likely all under American control. There's also major American bases, but like you can see, this is a very major base at Ash Ahad Dadi. So this is a very major base, US military base over here. There is another US military base. This is the airport. Not sure this airport is being used right now, because it looks really empty in this satellite map. And I'm not too sure if the Americans have this many troops that they need so many military base, since they already done a few withdrawals before. And there's also a major military base over here at Tel Badeh. So this is one. And there is also another military base over here. This is the Abu Hajar airport. You can see the bunks and then the Humvees. So there's also an airport here. So easy for resupply. So the oil facilities are all likely to be under American control. So nothing surprising. When they steal oil is usually from this area here, and then they actually exit from this region here at the El Yarubia. They will exit into Iraq and then smuggle the Syrian oil out of the country, or they can actually do it from here as well. So this is the Syrian situation. When we go into Iraq, so in the Iraq region, that's where what the Turkish thinks are the evil Kurds are. The PKK Sinjar force is actually around this region. So this area here is a mountainous area here. You can see it's actually a mountain range, very weird geological phenomena, and the entire area here is under the PKK Sinjar control. So PKK is actually the Kurdish Workers' Party from Turkey. So they control this. So if you can see, there's a lot of orange patches. These are all where the PKK operates. They operate around at Mahmud here. This is another mountain range. So it's a bit like dwarfs. Like you watch Lord of the Ring, right? So they're like the dwarf. They like to hide in the mountains. So another mountain range you can see, and they also mine their materials around all these different regions, which I have no names for them, except for this one. I think this one. Which one is it? There's one that is I think it's this one. Not sure. Forget it. So they have. I think the HQ is this one. This area here is the HQ, and then they operate in multiple locations. So these are the PKK operating area, and they are actually within the control of the the Peshmerga control forces. So the Peshmerga are the Kurds, the Iraqi Kurds, and the Peshmergas are actually break into two. So there is actually two Kurdish government in a way, joint government, but they each control their own territory. So we on this orange, light orangey thingy, yellow color, is actually controlled by the KDF, the Kurdistan Democratic Party, and then the one in this greenish color is actually the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, the PUK. So one is the KDP and one is the PUK. So these two are not in good terms. They have a lot of clashes, which is why they are actually two different governments. So because they cannot unite together, the Iraqi forces actually, I think within 1-2 years ago, recaptured Kirkuk. So the city of Kirkuk was previously under the Kurds' control, and the Iraqi army actually invaded and conquered Kirkuk. So this entire area here is under the Iraqi government control, and currently they are still in good terms somehow. Somehow they're still in good terms with the Iraqi government, and the border crossings are all controlled by mostly by the Iraqi government as well. So it's a very complex geopolitical or political situation within Iraq as well, where the Iraqi government are trying to balance this fragile alliance with the Kurds. Well, the Kurds themselves have their own infighting between the two factions, and then while at the same time they are actually hosting the PKK, which the Turkish are now hitting them with drones and attacks, commando attacks. So things are rather complex in this region. Not to mention the Iranians. The Iranians are actually also not very happy with all these Kurdish terrorists on their border. So you can see this is actually Iran. So there's a lot of rumors of Iraq wanting to invade into Iran wanting to invade into Iraq to deal with the terrorist threat. So not so sure. And so there is this, look, just another additional note. There's this Makmo refugee camp. So this is actually a refugee camp. It's actually mostly under control by the PKK. So something interesting to note. And there's also another refugee camp. This other refugee camp here, El Hal. El Hal refugee camp. As you can see, these are all tents, So this entire massive complex, which is is huge. It's like 2.3 kilometers width. This entire region is actually under the SDF control. So quite sad, because it's in the middle of the jungle. So, in the middle of the forest, the desert. So yeah, so this is the whole picture of the Levant. So when I say Levant, this is actually this entire area here. This is the Levant, and so hopefully you get a clearer understanding of the geopolitical situation. There's Iraq, and then there's Syria. Syria, basically, there's mainly talking about the Syrian government, the Rojava, and they are in good terms, generally speaking. And then we have the rebel forces, and then we have the SNA that is backed by the Turkish. Basically, it's just this. It's still complicated, but it's a lot more simpler than it was during the Syrian civil war. And then we have the Americans stepping their legs inside to suck some oil. And then of course we have the Israeli with the Palestinian issue. Lebanon wise, I haven't mapped anything just yet. Probably one day I'll be putting more information about it. And if I know more, I will share more later. So hopefully you learn something, and hopefully I will be able to continue to cover this, carry on to cover this over time. And I'll try my best. No guarantee, no promises. And anyway, please press the subscribe button, please press the like button. Meanwhile, the wars between Turkey and the SDF will be covered on the DPA war channel. So you need to go to subscribe over there for the coverage over there. The Israeli issues with Palestinian, as long as not at war, will be covered over here at the main channel. So because DPA war is about war, right? So if no war, then it shouldn't be covered there. So anyway, I'll please press the like button, and I'll see you in the next update.